Oh my goodness. We're back. We're back. Let's so back.
Preview the playoffs again.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into overtime of the DNVR Nuggets podcast. We still have 4 teams to talk about individual playoff matchups for the Denver Nuggets. And they're arguably the most interesting ones because they're the ones Denver's most likely to play, at least early on. So if you missed the first portion of this, we previewed 5 different teams and we talked about the matchup, the one-on-one matchup for Nikola Jokic, for Jamal Murray, Michael Porter, Aaron Gordon, KCP, and the bench. So if you want to go check those out, you can click on the other video that we recorded earlier. But right now, we're going to turn our attention now to the Los Angeles Lakers, who are the 7 seed. And let's start, of course, as always, with Nikola Jokic. Offensively, how will this series go? How would that series go for Nikola Jokic?
It's a tough matchup because of Anthony Davis. I mean, Anthony Davis might be the toughest matchup for Nikola Jokic in the entire league, I feel like. Now, I feel like we haven't seen him play against Anthony Davis in a while. But I think if you just think about it, his length, his athleticism, and just how Anthony Davis has played over the last couple of months, can't think of a tougher matchup.
I think part of what makes this matchup so difficult for us, thinking about it historically, what makes it so difficult for Jokic is that it was Davis, and then it was also Dwight, and it was JaVale McGee, and it was that whole size squad. And it's a different equation now. Jared Vanderbilt, great defender, not as big as those other guys per se. And I don't know if it's the same dynamic. Last time, and it feels like it's been a while, last time Jokic played AD in the regular season with a little juice behind it, I liked the way Jokic showed up. But this is still a mountain to climb for him.
We haven't seen it, but we have seen little flashes of it, against Anthony Davis. Now, the thing about Anthony Davis is when he's good, as he has been for most of the last 6 weeks, he's incredible. But for large portions of the season, he had a good portion early on. Obviously, he was hurt for a lot of this as well. But when he's not fully locked in, he's not that good. And I think the last time we saw Yoke, he kind of dominated him, but it was in the not good portion of the season for Anthony Davis. So I don't know how much we can
This
draw
is
from
all
it.
for me based on how Anthony Davis looks now.
Yeah. I will say I think Jokic is going to figure out Anthony Davis and score on him just because he's a lot bigger, a lot stronger. And Anthony Davis is crafty and this or that. But if they're going to play him at center, I think it's tough. And to your point, if they're going to put Jared Vanderbilt on Jokic or Mo Bamba or any of the other options, Wendy Gabriel, anybody else, I don't know that they're like a PJ Tucker that can pull that off.
Right.
And so I think you put him in a tough spot. So I'm going to say it's not an easy one by any means, but I also don't think it's the hardest. I'm still going to go about a 6 offensively for Jokic. I still think he'll figure this out, even if it is a challenge more so than most. Defensively, on the other hand, we're talking about a potential pick and roll if Anthony Davis goes center. Yoke's probably just going to be constantly guarding LeBron, constantly guarding Anthony Davis. This is a really tough matchup for him. And then there's the foul part of this. Yoke does not pick up fouls ever. I think he's going to get some BS stuff in this one. I think it's going to make it tough. So for me, this one is probably like a 3 in terms of how easy or hard it'll be on offense, meaning it'll be tougher on for him defensively.
Oh man, if you rank the things that scare me about Jokic's defense this series, it's the refs, then him guarding Anthony Davis, then him guarding LeBron. Like, the refs are a real thing with the Lakers. Like, it's a real X factor.
I'd bring that up though. I don't think it's quite as low as Kale has it. I would bring it up maybe halfway up that scale. Like, I don't think it's that hard. Maybe even a little bit higher. I mean, here's the other thing. They're not a great offensive team. They're a good defensive team. They're not going to be like, okay, whatever. I think it's probably somewhere around there for me.
And some portion of guarding AD includes just sort of AD's shot making, right? Where it's not necessarily what you're doing. There is an element of this too. There is going to be a large handful of switches where it's just LeBron staring him down, where you would think, and I bet Jokic might even do it, you just kind of concede the layup.
Yeah.
It might not be worth the foul. So we'll see how that shakes out. That part specifically makes it difficult.
Definitely not the easiest matchup for Jokic. Jamal Murray, you're talking about D'Angelo Russell, Malik Beasley, Max Christie, Lonnie Walker, Austin Reeves. I think that the one thing we can say about this one is he's going to have it easier on offense. I think he should be able to score against that group of players. Dennis Schroeder. I think this is among the easier matchups for Jamal Murray.
How are the Lakers so good defensively? How? Because
I mean,
it doesn't
Anthony
make
Davis-
sense
Anthony Davis
other
is
than
really
the
good.
Anthony Davis factor.
I mean, he's really good.
Adding Jared Vanderbilt
But
didn't hurt.
that-
Jared Vanderbilt's good too.
But their perimeter defense is so bad, and I know they're probably deploying the Utah Rudy Gobert defensive strategy, funneling everything in there. But still, I'm not going to say it's like a house of cards, but I can't get behind that the Lakers are this otherworldly elite defense. I just can't get there.
You're right. Well, first of all, they're 12th in defensive rating.
Well, since the trade deadline, they're number one.
I
I'm
think-
saying, and I don't buy that.
Right. I will say defense is a lot about how hard you play, and they've had to play as hard as
That's a
possible.
big
Yeah,
part.
So
of it.
they
100%.
might not have a higher gear. I don't know.
But there's something to Murray needs to get into the paint in every series. It'll be a tough one to finish in the paint in theory here. I kind of like the idea of some of the stuff we don't like across 82 games, that tough mid-range shot making, creating separation without necessarily getting all the way to the rim. He could thrive in that in-between area where this is not Drew Holiday, for example, he's trying to shake loose.
Yeah. So I think offensively, this is probably like a 9 for him. He should be able to really control this as a guard, and that should be a good matchup for him. Defensively, D'Angelo Russell, probably not his assignment. Malik Beasley, he shoots the ball. I don't think Austin Reeves maybe staying out of foul trouble trying to guard the super scorer. Austin
This
Reeves.
should be a fine series for Jamal Murray defensively.
7.
I mean, sure, but if he struggles defensively in a Lakers series, like it's going to be tough for him against any team.
What do you guys think about his position there on the board? I think the defensive part, I would bring him down just a smidge. Just a smidge here. Yeah, about right there.
makes
Okay.
sense to me.
All right, let's go to Michael Porter Jr. Well, he could be matched up with LeBron James.
LeBron will not guard him. LeBron will do that thing where he'll just kind of the off-ball defense.
LeBron's going to guard Aaron Gordon in this series.
Yeah, I don't know that that's actually exactly how the matchup would go.
Well, would they do the Vanderbilt on AG and sag off hard? But LeBron likes to play free safety too.
Yeah, they put LeBron on AJ.
It's weird to say that I think he can have a good offensive series because you're right.
Oh,
LeBron
no, I'm with you.
does have to get distracted. He's either just going to guard him close or he's going to sag off of him. It's not Porter's tough for a player like LeBron because he doesn't warrant your full attention because they don't go to him enough.
Right.
But if you don't pay attention to him, he's going to get open shots all the time. You're right. I think this is not the hardest matchup for him specifically. The Nuggets probably won't go to him. I think it's like a 6.
Yeah,
I agree.
But you could catch him sleeping, I think.
Defensively, nightmare.
Yeah.
Tough.
Defensively, it's a nightmare matchup for him. I mean, he's going to end up getting switched onto LeBron a lot just because it'll be easier to get the 3-4 or whatever. Like if you try to hide him on a Vanderbilt or whatever, it's going to be too easy for the Lakers to
LeBron will
find
be
him.
hunting switches this entire series.
Is this the hardest matchup? It might be because Michael Porter has height on most people, including LeBron James. But LeBron is so strong, it's not going to matter.
Through him
Yep.
every time.
I think it might be the toughest. Yeah.
I think it might be a 10 on defense, honestly. All the way at the very, very bottom. It's his toughest matchup, even if I think offensively he can get going in this
So
one.
is it? We think is Jokic on Vanderbilt?
Probably. But I mean, it doesn't matter. You're going to get switched.
Yeah, I
they're
know.
going to be able
That's
to.
gonna- yeah.
They're going to be able to run a bunch of different things. Aaron Gordon. So if we say LeBron takes him, that means Jared Vanderbilt is on him. But here's the thing: Jared Vanderbilt, wiry, whatever. I think Aaron Gordon, like LeBron on Michael Porter, I think Aaron Gordon is going to be too big and strong for
He
Jared
should be.
Vanderbilt and should be able to punish him inside. Now, Anthony Davis piece of this, if it's Anthony Davis on him, it's going to be like the Draymond factor where Anthony Davis is probably going to sag a little extra off of him and still contest, and that could be hard. So I think it's a mixed bag. I think offensively for Aaron Gordon, this is probably a 5 or 6,
Yeah, I'd agree.
depending on the matchup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then defensively, it's as tough as it gets. You got Anthony Davis. It's
And-
not
and-
a good matchup.
And LeBron, and he is somehow the answer to like the best answer to both of those questions at the same time for Denver.
He'll probably be in foul trouble for large portions of this series. I mean, we worry about Jokic being in foul trouble, but Aaron Gordon, I think, has a great chance of being in foul trouble in that series.
Is a big when we talk about what makes it hard for him offensively, it could just be his work rate on defense. He might just have to be chilling on offense a lot of the time.
For KCP, if you want to talk about easy defensive assignments, D'Angelo Russell, I feel like, is the kind of guy he's best to guard. He's not particularly quick. He's smooth. He's going to contest him.
He's going to settle.
He's going to settle a lot. I actually think defensively, this is a great matchup for him.
Yeah.
Offensively, it's just normal. They're not going to be able. Actually, it's probably a little bit easier because they don't have good defenders. So I think KCP is in that top right, and I would say, honestly, defensively, I would move him over a lot more too, Kale. I just don't think this is a tough defensive matchup for him. To the right,
should be a great series.
I think he would be in the farthest, about right there. Nope, above Michael Porter probably, just like right there, mirrored him. And then if we go to
big KCP series.
It just should be, I mean, and it's also his former team. I feel like he kind of feels salty still when he joined Denver. I just felt like there was a little bit of a, like, yeah, man, we won a championship and they lost. They got rid of me or whatever. Like, I feel like there's a little bit of that there. And then you go to the bench, and they don't have a good bench, and neither does Denver. I mean, they are a very thin team. You're looking at Troy Brown, Lonnie Walker, guys that are very inconsistent. I think the Lakers matchup is one of very few matchups where Denver's bench might actually be better.
Yeah. I agree.
So I would move them to like right there. I mean, yeah, we can't get too crazy with the bench, man. We have to.
The bench is in one of
the bench
three
is only.
spots.
Yeah. Look at this. If we look at this though, I mean, look at how weird. We're not necessarily worried about the defense as much as in most series, but we do think that Denver's going to have like a really, really, really tough time guarding this one. Guarding the Lakers.
It's the weird matchup where the Nuggets are just so clearly the better team, but there are just these little X factors that make you worried in parts about it.
I think Jokic has to come up big in this series, and I think Murray does. I mean, that's true of all of them, but especially Murray in this series, I think would need to average, 23, 24 a game because they just don't have the bodies to throw at him. He should get free a lot.
Yep.
So I like it. That's the Lakers. One of the tougher matchups, in my opinion, for the Denver Nuggets. All right, let's go to number 8 in the standings, and that's the Minnesota Timberwolves. Minus Rudy Gobert for one playing game, but he will be back. Minus Jaden McDaniels, maybe for the playoffs. Maybe he'll play. He'll probably just play. People play through broken hands, and then they just can't shoot. Like Jaden McDaniels was. It'd be like if Aaron Gordon broke his hand. You'd be like, oh, they're definitely not guarding him at the 3-point line.
Right.
It would be like that. But let's start with Jokic. This is the most interesting one to me. I'm not sure how easy this is as a matchup for Jokic. You've got the Gobert thing. Can he guard Jokic? Absolutely not. He's solved him. But they do have can Gobert guard someone else, and they're going to stick Towns on him. Well, Towns can't guard him either, but at least it's 2 7-footers standing side by side. I don't know. I think Jokic solves this one, but I actually think it's not as easy. I think it's more of a 6.5.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
I think the Wolves made the choice maybe quicker than any other team in the league. We're putting the power forward on Jokic.
Right.
And the center's going to roam. So
you do have a Chris Finch who I know hasn't coached him for 6 years, but at least it's somebody that just knows him, right? I mean, it's somebody that and also has a skilled center. I just think he'll have some defense for him. I'd move it to the left a little bit on offense there, Kale. And then defensively, look, Towns has always been a tough cover for him.
Oh, yeah.
And so can you try to put him on Gobert? I don't know. I think this might actually be a sneaky tough matchup for Jokic, even defensively.
I think I might.
You definitely put him on Gobert.
Gobert, yeah. AG with Towns.
But I'm just saying, like in a game, you're going to be switching, and there's going to be a lot going on. I think he has to work a little bit harder than usual in this series. So in a weird way, I think it's tough. If we go to Jamal Murray, well, what do they have over there? Mike Conley, who he's gone up against and had very good games. I recall a couple 50
some
point
decent games,
playoff games. You've got Nickeil Alexander-Walker. You've got Austin Rivers. You've got Anthony Edwards, who he probably isn't going to guard or probably won't guard him very often. I think this is another one where Jamal Murray would have to carry the Nuggets more, like a higher percentage of him. I think he's once again in that top right quadrant.
Absolutely. I mean, this is a series he should go off in.
And I think defensively, you can expect a lot from him.
Like Mike Conley's not killing you, so even if he has to guard him, it's like okay, I have to. But he's managing the offense.
The Timberwolves got way less dangerous offensively, swapping Conley for Russell, but they're better defensively.
Right. So I think Murray is way up there. If we go to KCP, once again, he's going to be, Anthony Edwards, I guess, has a lot of size on him. He hasn't always done well against size, but at the same time, I still think he's going to make him work.
Yeah.
Anthony Edwards hasn't done this before.
Right, but he has had monster games against the Nuggets in the past. I think it's probably a tougher matchup just because Anthony Edwards can be that dude.
I think it's really difficult. Big and strong, too. The KCP, I think, crafty, relentless, intelligent, but not the biggest, strongest.
Is this a
perimeter
Christian
guy.
Brown and Peyton Watson series more than it is a KCP series?
I don't know about more, but
if it's any of those guys, it's probably Christian Brown.
Yeah.
This might be a Christian Brown series.
But Edwards is there's not an obvious this guy should guard him.
He's just a beast.
I think he's on the other quadrant though, Kale, just because I don't think this will be particularly hard defensively. No, it's going to be hard for him on defense, but on the other end, I don't think they have a good offense. KCP's not working that hard against Rivers and Alexander Walker and this or that. I still think he's going to get open. With KCP, it basically means is he going to get open looks or not?
Yeah.
It's not like we're not giving the ball to KCP. I think he would get open looks in this series.
Agree.
So I think it would be easy in that regard. Aaron Gordon
should have a big series offensively, and then defensively he'll be guarding Towns a lot. So
can he guard Towns?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the way Karl Towns will beat the Nuggets is just bombing from three.
Yeah.
And I mean, he'll hit a bunch. You just got to make sure he's not wide open. And then can AG draw some fouls on him too on the other end?
That's true.
That will be the storyline.
Get to the basket a lot. Yeah, you're right. AG would be critical in this series. How would it be? Hard, easy defense, offense?
I actually like that matchup defensively, him guarding Cat. I think it's one that you wouldn't maybe think of right away as top matchups for AG, but the more I think about it, I think you can give him a hard time. Offensively, I think so many of these are similar, man, because I think so much of it is going to be open jump shots and taking up valuable real estate. I would say it's not as difficult as that Lakers matchup for him.
Okay.
Offensively.
So interesting that we have him above the threshold. I might put him on the line. I mean, Towns is still tough. I think I might put him about right there. I do think it would be easy offense for him, or at least it should be. They will leave him open, though. They will do the thing where Gobert's guarding him, and he's going to have to.
Everybody will, yeah.
And he's
But
gonna have
I'd
to make
rather
shots.
have, we're going to get to this guy in a minute, but I'd rather have AG matched up with Towns than to go to another team like a Brandon Ingram.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. And then the last one, Michael Porter, I think a major X factor in this series. I mean, maybe a little bit of matching up with Anthony Edwards, which is, of course, a little scary. But outside of that, you've got Taurean Prince. You've got an injured Jaden McDaniels.
That's huge for Porter.
If Porter can guard Jaden McDaniels, you're just not nearly as worried about him. And it gives Michael Porter a lot of rest off. And then on the other end, even with that hurt hand, it just makes it harder even defensively. So for me, I think he has a little bit easy offense and a little bit easy defense here. I'm not going to go. I do think the offensive end, maybe without Jaden McDaniels, gets significantly easier. It's just about whether or not he's available. Move him to the left. We're not sure. Yeah, maybe even a little bit more. And then defensively, I think it might be easier. I'd move it even up a little bit more. And the paint will just be crowded enough that I don't think you're as worried about pick and rolls. I mean, we'll find out.
Look, the Jaden McDaniels injury is massive because he would be guarding Jamal Murray a lot too.
Yeah, it's huge.
Like that would be the matchup I think Minnesota would go to in crunch time. Actually, is McDaniels on Jamal Murray?
It's a lot like Bridges, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I kind of like that one for Porter. Porter and Murray, big series for them.
Yeah. That good Minnesota defense, not worried apparently.
And then let's take a look real quick at the benches. Kyle Anderson's a great player. He might be the best of all the bench players when you factor in. Has he been starting though? Is he start for them?
I think he's actually technically a second stringer.
Yeah, but he plays a ton of minutes.
Closes and stuff. They lost Naz Reid too.
They lost Naz Reid as well. They are a little bit thin. And then, as you mentioned, like with the Clipper series, the best defenders in this one might be off the bench. This might be a Christian series. This might be a Peyton Watson series. Honestly, I think it would be a Peyton Watson series as well. Throw a bunch of bodies at him. Mm-hmm. I kind of like the bench here. I think defense will be important for them. A little plus. Offense, I don't think they're scoring that easy against them. I think their offense might be a little bad. Offense might be a little hard. Yeah, I'd say probably right there.
I'm stoked there's no Naz Reid. I mean, bummed for him, but for the Nuggets' chances of advancing, I think that makes this bench matchup a lot more favorable.
I agree. Do we like where these things landed?
Yeah.
I think that's about right. All right, we got the Pelicans. This one's such an interesting one, man. The New Orleans Pelicans. Very good chance. By the way, Minnesota and the Pelicans are the two most likely, I think, that the Nuggets will match up with. Let's start at the top again. Jokic matching up with Jonas Valanciunas. Big Val.
This is the 10 for Jokic offensively.
We have seen some of Jokic's absolute apex games come against the New Orleans Pelicans.
The best game Larry Nance has ever seen anybody play.
True statement from him. You got Billy Hernan-Gomez. Does he even play? And then, I just don't think they have guys that
I don't think we
him.
need to do much analysis there.
Offense is probably a 9 or 10. Defensively, they don't have that with Jose out.
Right. This is huge.
I actually think that CJ McCollum, okay, it's a little scary. Brandon Ingram's not the type of guy that's going to be running the ton of pick and roll action. I mean, he can't hit that mid range out of pick and roll, so there's a little bit of that. But I think this is like kind of a 7.
Valanciunas also scores on Jokic. He does in those head to head matchups. But again, like it's not killing you in that game. I feel like if he is getting
not worried
buckets.
about Big Val scoring. Like that's what I want.
I think if you're Denver, you can live with what New Orleans wants to do offensively.
Right.
Like you can live.
This
with
is a great matchup for Jokic.
I do think that they have a lot of length, so the offense, like they will be able to throw a lot of length at Jokic and on help side, but I think Jokic will solve that over time. So maybe let's lower his offense a little bit because of that length. I'll actually move it to about an 8.5. Jamal Murray.
This is going to be a tough series for Jamal offensively. I mean, you think about the defenders that New Orleans has.
Herb Jones has been
Herb Jones and Dyson Daniels. Both those guys will be guarding Jamal Murray a ton.
Yeah.
So I think this is one of the tougher series for him.
I agree.
length everywhere.
They just have a lot of long bodies that he hasn't necessarily proven. So for me, is that where we're at? About a 4, like below where Jamal Murray, we expect almost a below average performance from him.
I actually maybe. Yeah.
Okay.
They might be best suited to guard Jamal specifically.
I will say defensively, I think he gets a bit of a break. I mean, CJ McCollum is tough, but that's going to be the other guard's assignment.
Yeah.
So I do think defensively he's probably a little bit relaxed.
Right.
In fact, I would say he might be like an 8 or 9
Which
there.
could
Like he's
help
pretty
his
high. It could help his offense. If we go now to Michael Porter Jr., Herb Jones is going to be guarding Jamal Murray. It's just in every game they have, and that's the best thing. So who's going to be guarding him? Brandon Ingram?
Maybe Trey Murphy.
Well, you don't think Dyson Daniels is on Jamal?
I mean, they've just put Herbert Jones on him when they've played him in the past, and he's done such a good job that I would be like, why change that? And Murray's more important to shut down than Porter.
It could be Trey Murphy that's guarding Porter.
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna get all those guys, the Ingrams, the Murphys.
You'll get all of them.
You're gonna get all of those guys thrown at him.
I think this is one where Porter has to be willing to go to and strong at the rim.
Yeah,
it's a lot of long guys, but these are not like big, stout dudes that he can't turn the corner on, that he can't finish up and over or through. He's been so good at the rim, since returning from the injury. I think this is one where he's got to be able to put his head down and just get to the cup.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say 6 offensively.
Sure.
Yeah,
and then defensively, he probably will need to guard. I mean, he's not going to be the primary assignment, but he's going to spend some time on Brandon Ingram. He just is. You've also got Trey Murphy, who's a really smart off-ball shooter. It's tough. I actually think it's kind of a tough matchup for him. I just think that there's a lot of guys that he's going to end up having to cover. So I think this one is probably on the harder defensive side, maybe like a 4.
Yeah.
Feel about right?
Yeah.
If we go to Aaron Gordon now, he's the most pivotal player for the Nuggets, I think, here in terms of X factors. Brandon Ingram's another one of those guys that I don't think he's necessarily guards very well.
It might be his worst. It might be his worst individual matchup.
He lit Aaron Gordon up earlier, earlier. So I think this is a really tough one. Ironically, I think he's a good defender for Zion, but Zion, if they play in the play-in or playoffs, they're not going to be matched up.
Right.
It would be the first round most likely. So I think this is a tough matchup.
Isn't it funny that Aaron Gordon is the best Luka Doncic defender in the league, and he's just never going to play Luka Doncic in the playoffs? We're 0 for 2 now.
Maybe a trade for him, I guess, in the offseason. I think Aaron Gordon for me is probably an 8 matchup. It's not quite Kawhi or KD, who are just better versions of Brandon Ingram, but he's a really good one who's capable of going for 30 points.
Yeah, I don't think he's ever been able to guard him. Even when he doesn't score much, Ingram has picked up a lot of assists in this matchup too.
Now, where it all evens out is Larry Nance Jr., and then all those guys we just mentioned, the skinny, group of guys. He should be able to muscle them. I think it's an easy offensive matchup for him. So I think it is probably a 8 on terms of defensive difficulty, but it's probably an 8 in terms of offensive difficulty. So I think it's right around there.
Get down with that.
And then we go to KCP. CJ McCollum, I feel like is the type of player he's really good against. I like that matchup.
Yeah, me too.
I think it's a good one. And then all the other guys are not good, so he'll probably have a rest. If he had Jose Alvarado, a tougher assignment, I think this one is a good defensive assignment for him, probably like a 7 or 8. And then
no Jose Alvarado makes this series so much less scary.
It's so true.
Like way less scary that a player like him should make it.
And then offensively, CJ McCollum guarding him, I think he'll get open looks.
Oh, yeah.
So I think it's actually a really good KCP series. I would move the defensive part even more. I think it's like a really good defensive matchup for him. I think this is where he really shines. If we go to the bench now, they do have, I think, more depth than Denver does. They have some players who I like a lot, although injuries have ravaged them a little bit this season. And then if you talk about staggered lineups, I will say this. We mentioned Brandon Ingram. Peyton and Christian, once again, might be the best matchups Denver has for those two guys.
Yeah.
So I think that, and then you have Bruce, who also I think can be an aggressive defender on some of these guys. So I think the bench is actually in a good spot defensively. I think they'll be good. They have a good matchup defensively. Offensively, I don't think they'll score all that well because there's just so much length, and length makes it hard. So once again, they only move in the quadrants,
That's it.
but they never go very far because it's never a huge difference.
This should be a 5-6 game max series for the Nuggets.
You think?
I'm with Wind on this one.
All right, there you go, the Pelicans. And then lastly, so there we go. I think we feel pretty good about that one. Anytime Yoke's in the top right quadrant, I feel good.
Yeah.
And then the last one.
Just wait for this one.
And then last one, the Oklahoma City Thunder. Man, sneaking into the playoffs. I'm kind of rooting for the Thunder, man. I like Shea. I don't know why.
Do you just want the Nuggets to play them?
Yeah, probably. That's probably part of it.
Have we considered that the Nuggets cannot guard him?
No. Do we consider that the Nuggets, for some weird reason, have terrible games against the Thunder?
Not sure it's a great matchup, Harrison. Not sure it is.
Wild. Honest, in all seriousness, we remember last year, even preseason, regular season, they couldn't beat them. They kept struggling against the Thunder.
Real.
So there might be something to it, but let's roll through it. Jokic, first and foremost. Name the centers.
It's Jalen Williams.
Well, yeah, but back up.
The big one.
JRE, Jeremiah Robinson Earl, going to guard him. I mean,
Olivier Sarr.
They just don't have guys, man.
Lindy Waters.
They don't have guys. To me, the Jokic. Now they do have length, and their coach is very good at stacking the box or whatever. Yeah. But I still count Jokic's impact of, do they have to overload so heavily? So Jokic might not put up crazy points, but Denver's offense should score because of how much attention he draws. Yeah. To me, this is a 10 offensive matchup for him.
Gotta be. I mean, if this isn't what is,
Defensively, they don't run. They drive a lot, and Jokic struggles with that, but they don't run a ton of pick and roll. I mean, honestly, it's a lot of ISOing. It is a lot of straight line driving. I don't think it's the easiest matchup defensively for Jokic, but it's up there. I think it's like an 8 for him defensively.
I agree.
It's one of the rare series where you can really say this one is far more about the perimeter guys, I think, than Jokic.
And then they're also another one of these ones where Jokic should grab like 18 rebounds a game.
Yes.
I mean, he should absolutely control the boards on this one, including the offensive glass. Jamal Murray. Look, Shea's a really tough matchup. He's not going to be on him all of the time, but they also have other guys. I mean, Isaiah Joe can shoot off the bench. Jalen Williams is an incredible attacker. Giddey is an incredible attacker. Defensively, I think this is like a 10, just because he has to guard guys. Yeah. There's no they have enough guys that he's always going to have to guard. I'll say 9. We'll say 9
because 10 feels strong to me.
10 is only reserved for the Suns and the Warriors, but that's next to me in that regard that he'll be guarding. And plus, it's his fellow Canadians.
And just with the Thunder, I mean, if they're going to win games against the Nuggets in a series, SGA will have to go off. And they will, the Thunder will try to get him to go off.
Right.
If we're talking about usage in a playoff series, SGA is going to be up near 40% usage or something crazy. That's going to put a lot on Jamal.
As far as primary matchups, let's say it's KCP on SGA. Where do we think Jamal ends up? Giddey, Dort?
Probably Giddey. I mean, yeah. And Jalen Williams, because they're going to be staggering so much that you're going to be guarding both of them. And they're just both tough covers, man. And tough covers in different ways. Now, I will say, they play a dribble drive game, so the guards just inherently have a hard time. Even if they weren't good at it, it's hard to guard that many drives. It's just exhausting.
Sure.
So I do think that we're probably in the right quadrant here. And then offensively, Dort's tough.
Yeah, he's tough. Yeah, I agree.
So I think this is a tough series for Jamal. He should be able to score, but I would put him at like average offensively. Might not be the easiest Jamal series. Are we comfortable with that? All right, let's go to KCP. I think this is one of his harder matchups. He's just too small for Shea. Like, honestly, he doesn't make a huge impact on him, and he's going to have to be deployed at him. So I think this is a really tough one. And then offensively, they switch a lot. I don't know that he'll get a ton of wide open shots in this one. I think that there's a lot of
good defense.
They're a good defense. So I think it's not going to be quite that hard, even though Shea's really good. I just have to reserve that for like Steph. But I will put it maybe just like a 9 on defense. So just a little bit up, Kale. Is that down? Where are you at? That looks like a 10 to me. Yeah. That's right there. I think he's probably somewhere around there. Michael Porter Jr.
Well, he could see some of Lou Dort, but I think, largely it should be a pretty good, easy series for him.
I think so too. Offensively, he should get his shots.
Offensively and defensively.
And if they're just shrinking, if it really is all hands on deck, just like 5 guys with an eye towards Yoke, that's where you hope that Porter, if Yoke is making the right pass, that ball is swinging, at some point someone's open and hopefully it's Porter and he's got to take and make those shots. But I have good faith in that.
I think he gets good open looks in this series, so I think his offense is probably like a 7.5, 8.
Yeah.
And I think defensively, he probably does have to guard. I mean, they throw out 3 guards that all drive, or 4 guards even with Dort that all drive, and I just think he's bad at that. But he does have length, and there's a weird scenario in where he's actually the best matchup for Shea, because Shea's not exactly like Shea's crafty.
That would be a weird scenario.
I'm just saying, man, Shea's really crafty, but like you just have to put your hands up, man. Just be big.
Yeah, that's it.
him.
Just put your hands up, bro. The whole league can't guard him. Point Giannis.
Defensively, are we comfortable with him above average defensive matchup?
Yeah, I think
so.
I mean, I just think if you look at the guys that he's going to be guarding, not that scary.
All right, let's go then to Aaron Gordon. This is where I think the Nuggets have a huge advantage. They just don't have a guy that matches up physically with him. Right. I do think they're going to get smart and try to like dare him to shoot as much as possible. But this is a series where I think you can realistically say, put your head down and get to the rim, and he can actually do it. And so I think offensively, he should have a pretty easy offensive series here. And then defensively, he didn't really make... Did he guard Shea throughout the year?
He has tried, yes.
No effect?
It's not the best. We're looking for Vlaco, Adam. You have Vlaco anywhere?
No, that's right. Vlaco was the guy. You're so right.
Yeah.
I'd say
he was.
Defensively, though, I still think it's above average for him. Because I don't think he's going to draw the Shea assignment 24/7. And when he's not on him, I think it's like, those are good matchups for him.
Yeah. Okay. The Thunder just aren't good enough offensively to where like you're that worried about that.
Right.
All right. There's a world in which even if Shea gets like 35, it's...
I mean he this world.
Yeah, well, he will.
That's what he's averaging.
Yeah. So I think that's exactly how it plays out. So we like the front court for this one. We think the back court has their hands full. But I think overall this is a pretty good layout for the Nuggets.
I agree with that.
The bench, the last one.
Probably pretty good.
Probably pretty evenish. I mean, here's the thing. Once again, the best defenders might be Christian Brown, Bruce Brown, Peyton Watson, Vlatko Cancar even. Zeke Naji even. Like, there's a chance that these guys can go out there, switch everything, and just make things really, really tough. Yeah. So I think defense, again, good matchup, so it would probably be a little higher. Maybe even nudge this a little bit higher. Offense, I don't know.
Who's ready to step up and guard Lindy Waters III? Second team all
What about
Nuggets
Aaron
killer.
Wiggins? Sneaky good player.
Yeah.
Isaiah Joe also, little shooter, little streaky shooter.
This is another series that, again, should be an easy series for the Nuggets.
I could see Denver.
Should be.
Not dropping the games, but it being the second quarter of some of these games, and I was going like, "Oh my god, dude!"
Yeah. But in the end, winning in 4 or 5.
Again, you put Yoke in that top right quadrant, and I just feel good. And this is to me as like one of his extreme upper right quadrant series. They just don't have a one-on-one matchup. Totally. The only reason it's not a perfect 100 out of 100 for Yoke offensively is they're going to have length to put help and a smart coach that knows how to deploy those. But Yoke, when push comes to shove, if Denver needed a closeout, whatever game where it's like we need peak Yoke, I just think he has 40 in him against this team.
I agree.
Almost on command.
I agree.
So I like it. All right, guys, that does it. We just ran through all of the options. If you missed it in the last one, we have the other video that goes through seeds 1 through 6. So you guys enjoy those. We could be able to revisit these, after each round and kind of see how close we were. Did it play out the way? The guys we expected to have good series, did it work out that way? So I thought it was fun. Don't forget to throw us a like. Message us in the comment section down here. Let us know what you guys think. Do you agree, disagree? Be cordial about it, but let us know what you're thinking. And everybody else, tune in all week at 2:00 p.m. It's Mountain Time, as we're going to be talking about the Nuggets and previewing this playoff series. See you then.